morning, everyone. Today is going to be a tomato processing day. I thought I would take you all out to the garden to show you everything literally from start to finish. My lens keeps getting really foggy, so I'm not sure how good this film quality will be, but we're gonna give it a shot. This is our tomato jungle. Over here we have the Romas, and they have just been prolific. We have so many pounds of Romas put away in our freezer. So I'm really excited to see how many products I'm actually going to get on the shelf. And then this is the other side of our tomato jungle. We've learned many lessons this year. This was probably a little bit too close for rows of tomatoes and tomatillos. And then our grass came up in between and it is a jungle. But down here on this end, we have a lot of Amish paste tomatoes because I wanted to see which I liked better, the Romas or the Amish paste. So far, not going off of taste or anything like that, I think I prefer the Romas. They matured much faster. I've been getting constant, consistent harvests off of them, and the tomatoes are mostly unblemished. I have gotten a few of the Amish pastes already, and a lot of them have splits along the sides. I don't know, maybe there's something I could be doing better to raise them, but I have really appreciated how effortless the Romas have been. I have literally neglected them so much just because we've been so busy. This is a first-year garden, and we had a baby this year and all of that. So yeah, so far big points for the Romas. I will say the Amish paste are significantly larger, so I suppose if you could get good at Amish paste, they do have a bigger tomato. Yeah, like this is much larger than a Roma. However, I do think they put on less fruit, so maybe it balances out in the end. My Amish paste vines are a lot thinner, and they're not as prolific, but the tomatoes are bigger, so do it that way you will. I already have tomatoes harvested for today, so let's go inside and I will show you what we're working with inside. Here are the tomatoes we are going to be using today. I've had them in the freezer just because they come off the vine at all different times, and that's just the easiest way to preserve them until I can actually preserve them. So I've had them in a brown paper bag, and I've heard that actually it's really nice because once they are frozen and they thaw, the skins will just slip off. They're still a little bit too frozen for me to do that with most of them, but I did try it on one of them and it works really well. So this is 9 pounds of tomatoes today. We're going to turn these into a puree that we're going to cook down, and we're going to make a pizza sauce out of. I'm really excited. Most of these are Romas. I think this is an Amish paste. You can tell because it's a little bit pointier at the end. And then I've got a couple of the smaller slicing tomatoes. These aren't like big beefsteaks. They're just like some kind of vine variety. We have way too many tomatoes, so some of these can get thrown into here and it will be okay. If you are new to processing tomatoes, the reason I'm using Romas is because they're much meatier. Same with the Amish paste, those will be fine too. They're a meatier tomato. Ones like this tend to have a lot more moisture in them, and then you get a runnier product. And then also when you're cooking it down, like I've made rotel before, like chopped up, or salsa even. If your tomatoes have too much liquid in them, then you just have kind of a runny product, and there's no good chunks of tomato left over after it comes out of the canner. This is my new gadget this year. So many of the recipes I want to make, like pasta sauces and pizza sauce, those are two things that would be really great to replace on our pantry from buying it in the store because it's so expensive. So anyway, I thought I should invest in one of these, and it's just a tomato mill. So basically I'm going to quarter those tomatoes, or even halve them because the Romas are so little, feed them through here. I need a certain amount, I think it's 13 cups of puree, and then it's going to get cooked down in here, and then it is going to get water bath canned over here. I have not set up my water bath canner yet. Since I have a glass cooktop stove, I know so many people, they can on their glass cooktop, but when I first started canning, we were in a rental house, and I could not stomach the risk. I was like, I don't want to buy this. I don't have to replace this stove that might not even, like, it's not our stove, you know? So I just didn't want to come out of pocket for that ever. And so I purchased this hot plate for canning, and I love it because it frees up my stove. It removes the risk of anything. It needs a good dusting. It's been a minute since I've canned. So we'll get that cleaned up. And yeah, I still can like this. This is our own house now. We could probably test it on this stove, but why not use this? It just works great. Today's recipe is not a very big recipe. I was going to multiply the batch, but this is a new skill for me. I have never made pizza sauce, and I've also never worked with the tomato mill. I have done recipes like salsas where you just chop the tomatoes, but yeah, this is a new gadget for me, and I thought, okay, let me just take a small run at it and see how it goes, and then if we like it, next time I will probably triple the batch and go from there. On second thought, I am realizing that I don't actually have to peel these, of course, because I'm putting them through the mill. So we might just give these a chop because they are partially thawed, and then once we chop them up, maybe they will thaw faster. Some of these little ones might be ready to go. Okay. I've been learning so much about tomatoes this canning season, and the number one thing I have learned is that you cannot use frozen tomatoes for things like salsa or rotel, but they are amazing for sauce and pizza sauce and things like that. But unfortunately, once the tomato has been frozen, it breaks down so easily when it is cooked that it will just not hold together in salsas or anything like that. It just turns to mush. So, lesson learned. I did a batch of rotel the other night, and it did not come out very good. We'll use it in something, but it just definitely didn't hold its shape. As you can see, so we're not really focusing on taking the peels off, but they do. Once they're thawed, they just slip right off. So like if you were doing maybe salsa tomatoes, oh, this would be such a cool trick. That's better. One of my favorite tomato products to can, which I hope to get to this year, we'll see how many tomatoes we have, is homemade rotel, because you can't buy organic rotel on the grocery shelf. You can buy the components, like the chilies and all that, but nothing beats having just a nice quick can of rotel on your shelf. I am keeping an eye out for bad spots. A couple of these had small blemishes on them. I didn't put any in the freezer that were like really gross. Just a couple of small things here and there. There you go. Mm-hmm. Grab another one.
Can I be your tomato grabber?
Yeah.
Yeah. This huge one.
All right, now I'm going to give this a shot. I pulled my hair back, and most of these are thawed enough. A couple of the bigger pieces are still a little frozen. I don't imagine it would be good to run those through here, but I'm just gonna run the mushy thawed pieces through. I was pausing to move the tripod so you guys could get a better look at what's coming through here. But then I realized that there's also this little chute out here. I didn't know what that was for, but now I realize that is for the like the skins and whatnot to come out of. So I need to rethink my operation here for just a moment to make sure those don't land in my bowl of stuff that I do want. I'm having a little bit of a space conundrum because I wish I could push this back. But I can't because the little hopper chute gets in the way. Don't know. Maybe if I turn it sideways. All right, that works a little bit better. I've turned it sideways. I've got a little bowl right back here that what am I trying to say? The skins and whatnot can fall into, and then this can go into here. Also, I'm already noticing that this is pretty coarse. I have it on like a medium grind. So maybe next I will have to feed it through a smaller one, just one last pass to get the last of the seeds out. Good to know. Okay, let's keep going. This is what we have so far. This is just the first tray of tomatoes, and it makes really quick work of this. Of course, today I'm working through a learning curve, but I could see this being a really fast process on another day. I think the hardest thing is going to just be cleaning it. That's the most complicated part. But it feeds through really easily, and then the excess just drops out into that bowl. I turned my machine just a little bit, and my my bowl back here isn't quite lined up. This is all that's come out so far. This is my finished tomato puree over here. The recipe says that we need about 13 cups. I don't know how many I have yet. But if we don't have enough, I do have many tomatoes that are not thawed yet. They're just not the most ripe tomatoes yet, so that's why we're not using those ones. So I can grind up some more if we need more in a moment. But the first step is it says to bring half of the mixture up to a simmer. I'm just trying to mix it up here a little bit so our puree and our liquids are kind of more homogeneous. And then I'm going to take maybe 7 cups. 1, 2, it's not super exact. 3, 4. I think this will be enough. 5, 6, 7. I did not end up running it through a second time. I think that's probably just for aesthetics. All of the skins appear to be out of here. There's just a few seeds, and I don't think that's gonna bother us. I have this set on low, and we're gonna bring this up to a simmer, and then you add the rest of it 1 cup at a time, and you add your lemon juice and your spices. So we will be back in a little bit. Also, I don't think I mentioned it, but I'm canning out of this book, and I'm using their pizza sauce recipe in here. So hopefully it turns out good. Next, I'm gonna add the lemon juice and the spices. I have since made this recipe three more times, I think, and I definitely added more spices the next time I made this. The garlic is probably enough. I didn't love when I added more garlic, but I have since added more basil and more oregano. I actually think the original recipe doesn't call for basil, and so I added that in, and we love it that way. I also learned from making other batches that this needs to be at a much harder rolling boil before I start adding all these in. And my other batches, I used unfrozen, like fresh tomatoes, and I think that made a huge difference too. So you really have to boil this very hard for quite a long time, longer than the recipe says, in my opinion. So now I have my station all set up to put things in jars. It said it would make 4-pint jars. I have 6 prepared just in case. And here's the consistency of my sauce. I do think that it would have been thicker if I had not made that mistake in the first part, but I'm hoping it's okay. I mean, even at this thin, we could technically spread this on a pizza. It would be okay. And I think it's gonna get a little bit thicker in the canning process. So I did cook it for much longer than the recipe said, and it's cooked down quite a bit, but I need to move on with my day, so we're just gonna go with it. My jars are over here. They have been soaking in hot water, hot sauce into hot jars, into hot canner. So hot, everything is hot. And I usually just pull a jar or 2 out at a time so they don't get cooled down while they're waiting for me to get to them. It has been a long time since I've water bath canned, and I'm actually really excited about it. Pressure canning drives me nuts because you get stuck in the kitchen. Even after you're done with all these steps, you have to sit there and watch the canner, but not so with water bath canning. I do fear that this looks a little bit more like a tomato sauce, but I bet it'll thicken up. Be just fine. I'm going for a 1/2 inch of headspace. I have the kids outside helping. We're kind of putting the garden to bed. Not really, but a little bit. Our cherry tomatoes, at least, are going to be done for the year. They're an absolute jungle, and it's really uncomfortable to pick them. You have to go in there with like all long sleeves, and Unfortunately, because of that barrier, we didn't keep up with picking them, and so a lot of the ripe ones split. I've noticed with cherry tomatoes that you have to pick them right when they're ripe or they split pretty quick. So we are going through and I'm having the kids put all the split ones in a bowl and they will go to the chickens. And then the ripe ones will come in and get frozen for sauces. This turned out to be about 5 pints for me. Recipe only called for 4 pints, so I'm assuming that's just the moisture difference. Whoops. We will use it for something. If it does not come out this time as thick as pizza sauce should be, we will just use it as tomato sauce. The seasonings are very mild. If you make this recipe on your own, I think if I make it again even, I'm going to be adding a lot more seasoning. The recipe did say you could change the seasoning. You can add as much as you want of that. You just can't change the tomato to lemon juice proportions. All right, I'm just gonna lift these in. I think I can get away with doing this without my tongs. Yeah. The recipe does say to cover the canning jars with water. There we go, that should be good. And now I am going to crank it all the way up and bring it to a boil. And then once it is boiling, I can go do something else. All right, they are finished processing. I let them sit in the hot water for 5 minutes before I decided to take them out. And I'm setting them on a cloth. I always do this just because hot glass is a little bit fragile. So I always put a soft surface down. And then I'm going to get a towel to place on top so they cool nice and slow. And that is it. I'm gonna leave these here until tomorrow. And then I will label them once they're all sealed. And that is it. Now I need to get some dinner on the table. We're just gonna do spaghetti, I think. But it's homemade sauce at least. So we're gonna do some homemade spaghetti that I pulled out of the freezer. It's gonna be a nice, easy night, which is good because there's a storm blowing in and we lose power often when it storms. So glad this is done. We're gonna get everybody fed and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.